To Tomorrow by Today. I'm Sydney Sadik, and thanks for being here with us on this Friday afternoon for our weekly conversation series. Today, we are welcoming the one and only star of Shadow and Bone, Ben Barnes, you guys. We are so excited to have Ben joining us right here on Tomorrow by Today on this Friday afternoon. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Yes, take two. We are very excited to get this conversation started with Ben. He's going to be with us right now so we can get all of your questions answered. And like I said, if you submit your questions at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, we'll be able to get your questions answered live and in the now that I'm having a connection issue. Of course, that'll be our connecting with Ben right now. Let's get this conversation started. And here we go, you guys. We are connecting. Let's do it.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, Ben. How are you? Thanks for being here with us.
Hello, everyone. I apologize. I didn't have any internet in my area.
No worries. Listen, you're here. You're with us. The fans were so itching for you to get here. So I know them seeing your face right now is making everything better.
Well, I can't see any of your faces, but it's lovely to see your highs and hellos and comments.
Exactly. You can see the comments. That is right. Well, for those who are just joining us, Ben, it is no secret that you are the star of the Netflix hit Shadow and Bone. What has it been like to see all of the excitement surrounding the series, Ben?
It's actually been completely extraordinary, and I feel like I've just been on the boat with the fans in that I think everyone involved in making the show became such instant huge fan of Leigh Bardugo's books, which I still have a rather geeky pile of right next to me because I've been doing obviously other press interviews and everything, so I've very carefully curated a little plant on one side and books on the other side to kind of show off the fandom of the people who are the creatives of the show. And so I feel like we've just been on that ride with them in the anticipation of the build up of from books to script, from script to screen, and from screen to sort of fan reaction.
It's like all coming together, and I think that's what makes people so excited. Someone who starts off reading the book like you said, and then they're able to visually see everything that they've been reading about for so long is now in front of them. I mean, fans were dream casting you for the role of General Kerrigan.
Did you say dream casting?
Dream casting, yes.
I've never heard that before. I like that a lot.
They were dream casting you all over Tumblr and the internet as early as 2013. Did you know that?
I didn't know. Somebody wrote something recently about Tumblr, which I found amusing because I didn't really know what Tumblr was. Somebody wrote that I knew about. Somebody wrote that I'd said, "Look, I've been cast as this character on Tumblr 10 years ago, so you should cast me." Which obviously I didn't do because I didn't know what Tumblr was. But I did see some old tweets that Leigh, the author, had seen or sort of approved of, and sort of suggesting me as someone who might be able to play that role. And that certainly felt like it definitely piqued my curiosity about going to it and thinking, because I think as an actor, I think I've said this so many times to people that I know, as an actor, you kind of wonder, people ask you what you'd like to do next. And for me, it's usually based on my life. If I've just done something very serious and dramatic, maybe I'd like to do something with comedy. If I've done something evil, I'd like to do something romantic and hopeful, because we like balance in our lives. But it's wondering how other people see you and how other people would like to cast you. I think is always something that's sort of interesting, and it always, if people sort of suggest you for something, then I think then it gives that extra layer of curiosity for me to want to know why that is.
It is interesting. You're so right. But the sky is the limit. And I feel like, especially, in acting, like, kind of show that you don't have to be confined to a box. Even sometimes, you get pigeonholed into certain roles, but you can constantly go after different things. But when you did hear, Ben, that you did land the role of General Kerrigan, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction, I think it was probably because I was a little hesitant because because I hadn't read too many of the scripts and things initially, and I knew that it was sort of filming in Eastern Europe, which I've done a few times before. I filmed a mini series called The Sons of Liberty, in which I played Sam Adams, the founding father, and I'd filmed that in Bucharest. And then going very, very far back, I'd filmed Prince Caspian, the first Narnia film. Most of that was shot in Prague, so I'd spent quite a lot of time in Eastern Europe. And I think, you know, as you go through your life, you think, well, if I'm going to spend that amount of time away from friends and family and the things that I know, it's got to be important enough to me. And this one was filmed in Budapest, and I hadn't been, but it was to leave in less than a month, I think. And it's you feel like you're uprooting your life a bit, I think, quite often. And but then I started reading the books, and I just thought there's enough in this character to keep me curious. And I'd had lunch with Eric Heiserer, who was our showrunner, and we had a chat about sort of being somewhat collaborative in terms of expressing the themes in the show that were important to us. And that was very buoying, because I think also as you go through your career, you just want to be involved in the messaging of what you're talking about. And I think at its core, this show is about identity and about where it is we feel like we belong, and that goes for all of the characters. I think on some level, for those of you who've kind of watched it, thank you for all the hearts you'll send us.
Oh, and many have watched it. The level of knowledge and attention to detail that all of your really have of all the different elements of the show is quite amazing to watch. I'm really curious, Ben, because you have been acting since you were around 15 years old. That's like being a baby. Take us back to that moment when you originally got discovered.
Well, I don't know if it was discovered. What happened was I was doing a lot of music at my school, and just sort of singing actually in choirs and things like that. And then when I was 15, there was a man named Jeremy James Taylor who came to my school, who ran a company called the National Youth Music Theatre, and he that company had seen, you know, some was a kind of a professional company, but for young people. So the young, they would put on productions, and everyone in the cast would be between 11 and 18, but they would be at professional venues, and they would be sort of new musicals and things like that. And it was a company that I was so proud to be involved in, and definitely sort of sparked all of my sort of insatiable appetite for doing this as a job. And it had some alumni that had gone on to amazing things. I remember when I was doing a couple of productions, actually, I got cast in roles, and I would look in because they recycled the costumes if they'd done the production a few years before, and I had this amazing grey coat with tails, and I looked in the back of the thing, and because you used to write your name in the back of it, and it was written Jude Law in the back of it, and I thought, oh, I'm playing the role that Jude Law played a few years ago in this production. And it had been sort of Matt Lucas and Johnny Miller and Sheridan Smith and all these, you know, these people who'd gone on to do sort of great things in acting and musicals and stuff like that. And so I did that for about 5 years. Every single summer we would go and put on productions in different places around the UK, and that's where I sort of caught the bug for doing it, really. Yes, I'm sorry about I need a new phone. My camera is rubbish.
No, the fans are really loving that you listen to them and actually cleaned your camera.
I saw someone say clean it, and I thought it's not that, it's just old, but I'm going to try and humor you anyway. I will get, I promise, whoever that person was, I promise I will get an iPhone 62B or whatever the latest one is.
Is Ben Barnes not the most techie person? Is that just not your thing?
It's really not his thing.
That's all right.
You should have seen me flapping about like a chicken when my internet wasn't working, thinking I'd ruined it. And then I got a message from Spectrum saying there's an internet. I was like, oh, thank God, at least it's not my fault.
Oh God, Spectrum. Well, you were here and you made it. But
sorry, I just called them out, didn't I? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, no, never mind.
Hilarious. Oh my goodness. But speaking of your voice, what a voice you have. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It's an incredible voice. People are so excited when they hear you sing. Have you ever thought of releasing your own songs? And
do you know what? I've been sort of loath to talk about it too much. I've mentioned it in one or two other places, but this last year and a half, we've been all locked away, and I promised myself for my upcoming next birthday, which shall remain numberless, that I would please don't that I would get myself a piano, a real piano, as opposed to an electric one. And I did that at the beginning of lockdown because I thought, no time like the present. If we're going to be locked down for a bit, I'm going to do this. And I sort of worked up a lot of songs I've been writing over the last couple of years, and I've been working on them with some producers. So that is something that is coming hopefully soon. Looking for a home for it. So hopefully I'll find a way to kind of share that with everybody as soon as I can. Just wanted to, honestly, the thought behind it was I love singing so much. It was my first love. When I was 19, I was sort of starting to make a big band jazz album. My first ever job ever was playing the drums in a production with that company I was talking about. And I've done quite a few films with singing in them, but it was sort of doing impressions of American folk street singers, or you know, ridiculous Irish rock stars from the 80s, and you know, just different types of ridiculous singing, whereas this is more authentically just something completely from me. It's written by me, it's, you know, and all of that. So I'm looking for a home for it at the moment, but it is hopefully for those people who are saying, why aren't you posting more covers at the moment? It's because I'm trying to put the effort into making something of my own.
I mean, that is really exciting. I think people are going to
Thank
freak
you.
out once they hear what these songs are that you've been working on. But I also play the piano, so I know there's something.
Oh, do you?
I do, since I was 5. Yeah.
Oh no, that's my dream, is because I had one lesson when I was about 7, and the teacher was just horrible. She was just a horrible woman, and then the next pupil came in who I think was about 3, and after my first lesson she asked me where middle C was, and I couldn't remember. And then she asked this little girl who was 3 who just walked in where it was, and she came up and played it, and she looked at me like I was just, and I never went back. And I regret it so much, because I only really started properly playing the piano again just a few years ago. And so that there was that, you know, 30-something year span where I could have been being brilliant, probably like you are.
But not brilliant, but you know what? You can't.
Not brilliant, but pretty good.
I'm pretty good. Not brilliant, but I'm pretty good. But, you know, I think it really proves to a lot of people at home, too, the pandemic can really bring out new passions, new hobbies, and you're able to focus on them a lot more. So in addition to playing, how else were you able to stay inspired and motivated as a creative last year? Because it's been so hard for so many people. Shadow and Bone was that outlet.
Yes, yes, it is, and it's not even necessarily the acting part that I find. Of course, that's I feel like acting is more like, feels like interpretation to me, or in translation of something like that. You know, you've got other people's words and you're trying to craft them, but actually the bit that I get really excited about, I don't know why I feel like this is overshare because it feels geeky, but the bit when I first get the scene, and I can sort of make a cup of tea and sit down and look at it on the computer or whatever it is, and then sort of write my thoughts about the lines and about, you know, how I might go about saying these things and which words feel important to me. You know, it's words that really kind of I feel, you know, are the exciting part of it for me. And then it becomes about translation, which of course I love the you know, the actual filming days processes, particularly on this show, particularly with this cast, because they are so fun and they're so excited and excitable, and they take it so seriously. It's funny, it's sort of one of the younger casts I've worked with, and one of the sort of fresher, most eager casts I've worked with. And people always say, you know, what are the pranks on set? And I'm like, I watched them struggle to answer, because they're sort of like, well, they weren't really, because we were so passionate about making it good and working hard on it, which is, you know, kind of a curious, you know, thing. And people are sort of disappointed that we weren't mugging around, but actually we wanted to make it great. You can't have it, you know, every which way. Obviously we had a lot of fun doing it, but Uh, so so yeah, that's the part that I kind of really enjoyed. God, I've completely forgotten what you asked.
Well, I'm curious, what would people be surprised to learn about sort of the behind the scenes of the show? Because like you're saying, there's so much that goes into it. You guys have a cast, have the best time, but what do people not they would want to?
Well, I think there is some truth to this sort of element for me anyway, and I don't know how many other actors this is true for, but you kind of have to, like, if you're doing a serious scene, I feel like you kind of have to almost shake out the sillies before you do it. So I think we'd find ourselves, particularly in some of the locations, if there was one location, the Little Palace location, which is where the Grisha are kind of living and training in the story, there was a piano in the green room in the back, so we would go and have little sing-alongs between scenes and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Or we would just kind of just run around the rooms, you know, causing havoc or whatever. Actually, the others, Jessie would run around the rooms causing havoc, and I would pretend to be upset with her and irritated, and, you know, say, Jessica, come and sit down. So that was our kind of dynamic. You kind of sort of play on the character dynamics, which is kind of a fun. It's kind of a fun thing. And you know, but there's obviously so much to distract you. In some scenes, there are sort of peacocks walking around, actual live peacocks. In the other scenes, there are obviously horses. Yeah, just real peacocks casually lining the grounds of the Little Palace. But I think you already feel like you're in a fantasy world. So to play in that world is a very natural kind of thing.
Right. And the hair, the makeup, the costume, such a huge part of the show. You posted a little clip of your Insta story last night. It was really showing what it was like when you all saw each other.
Oh, yes. And I wish I could have said, I should have probably, I need to be better at Instagram and do more interesting things, because my thought was, I should talk them through this day, because it was actually really felt like a special day. We'd been there quite a few weeks already, and we'd had some read-throughs of the show, sort of just quite dryly sitting around a table. They would put microphones in front of you, and you would sort of just read through the episodes and try and make them exciting. But you're sitting in your chair and you can't get up, and you're trying to breathe life into it. And this day was sort of a bit less pressure in a weird way. It was just we all were made up and then put in our costumes for the first time, which we'd all seen our own costumes obviously in the fittings, but we hadn't seen anybody else's. And this was all 6 of the sort of the main cast from the first day. And it was a bit cringy, because it was a bit like a sort of, the lighting was so incredible, and the setup was, they sort of had this runway, this sort of Ravkan runway. Oh, that sounds quite good. That should be a TV show, probably. Market that. You should host it. Ravkan runway. I'll be a judge.
I'm coming. I'll report on it.
That was sort of how it felt, though, because we were sort of sitting in these chairs looking at this weird runway, these beautiful lights, and everyone would come out from behind this skiff, one of the skiffs that we had, the ships which go on sand in the show,
yeah.
and in their costumes, and kind of walk down, and they were even playing music, sort of this big, in the video it's the actual score, but on the day it was just sort of big booming classical music of some kind. And it was quite sort of thrilling to watch everyone sort of, so because everyone was so proud, I think, that they had got these parts, and they were wearing their costumes, and they were just sort of proud. There was real pride in it, which I think, you know, and not in the kind of sinful way, just in a kind of just a really lovely way, that that they were just proud of themselves, which is a lovely thing to watch in someone. And I think we were just sort of enjoying, Kit's early pistol spinning skills, and Amita was showing off where she'd hidden all the knives in her costume, and it was just, me probably complaining that I was hot or something, I don't know, but it was just a very, very special feeling day. So yeah,
that is amazing. What a great story, Ben. We have so many questions for you that have come in.
Please and also take all the time you need, because I've not got anywhere to go.
You're so sweet. But before we get to the 10 question, I'm going to ask the question. I know a lot of people were also submitting last night before I put them on the screen. They want, you are the crush for a lot of people. What's your relationship status, Ben?
Sorry?
What's your current relationship status?
Oh, well, I'm afraid, never really talk about that, that kind of personal stuff. I drew a line in the sand for myself quite a long time ago, when Narnia came out, that I thought it was important that you would have kind of, you know, one side of your life for yourself and one side of your life that you were sort of willing to share. And I think sort of same goes for sort of social media. Really, I feel very passionate about the people who follow me. I just you know, recently kind of hit that 1 million follower mark, and a while ago, and I was thinking so hard about what I could do, and eventually I ended up sort of writing this sort of thank you poem, because I see a lot of the same names for the last, you know, however I don't know how long I've had into Instagram, but I just sort of wanted to do something a bit more personal. So I think it is important to share things that are personal and authentic, but also I've always thought it was personal, you know, important to keep those things private.
Totally.
But
It makes sense.
I will tell you this: whenever I find the one whenever I find the woman that is going to be the one that I marry, I'm sure I will be no longer quite so coy about it, because it will be what it is, and then I'm sure it would stress me out less that people would be curious about it. But
I like that answer. We're going to be keeping our eyes out and putting all the positive words that way.
Thank you.
Get to some of those fan questions here. We have one from the user NickBox04. Ben, which scene of Shadow and Bone was the hardest to film, and why?
Which scene was the hardest to film? Well, I think physically, probably the thing that's jumping to mind is the fight between Kirigan and Mal in the final episode. No spoilers for anyone who hasn't got that far. But I think just by virtue of having a choreographed fight that you've practiced hard, but then doing it in sort of leather boots with spurs and two coats on sand in the dark. I think that's probably quite a difficult. That was probably quite a difficult element. But honestly, all the rest of the scenes, I had it quite lucky. A lot of people had scenes where they were being thrown about and you know, dunked in freezing cold water, or you know, dragged through forests. And I think playing a character this powerful, I think I was mostly sitting down or standing up inside, and quite comfortable. And I would often tease the others that was because I've been doing this 20 years, and now I get to be comfortable.
Well, speaking of a powerful character, this next question is from the user bar_y, and she wants to know, Ben, your character is exactly one of the good guys, but do you think he has some redeeming qualities?
It's a very good question, and one that I've thought about a lot, I think. And I think it's a interesting territory to cover, because I think whilst he is certainly the antagonist of the story, whether you would call him a villain or not is kind of quite an interesting thing to navigate. I do see him as a villain, and I think because I think that a lot of the ground that he covers is irredeemable, unforgivable ground. I will say that in order to play a character like that, for me, the first thing that I would do is look at everything that is the opposite of what he is presenting. There's a mask that this man presents to the world of superiority, of arrogance in some ways. You know, he kind of oozes power and mystery, but also comes with that territory a sort of a loneliness. And if someone comes across like that, why does he? What is it that's made him lonely? What's made him this way? And then I think that is there a thirst for connection, for deep human connection? Is there a possibility for redemption in this man? Could he relearn? For those of you who've seen episode 7, could he relearn how to love? Could he relearn these things? And I think you have to have hope. Even, you know, I told you earlier that the thing that was interesting to me about the story was about identity and where these characters belong. And I think that kind of sense of hopefulness for where you belong has to exist in all the characters, including the villain. And I think that's what makes them interesting to watch, and you want to see more of them because you want to know if there is any element of that. You want to understand. You know, I think that's one of the beautiful things about making TV in 8 episodes or 10 or because you get to spend longer with these characters and understand. Even villains have hopes and dreams and agendas, and I want to be able to understand them, not just have them wander around in black, twiddling their moustaches and trying to ruin the hero's day, you know.
Definitely. And when you, by the way, say, did this group, have they seen episode 7? This group has not only watched.
This group has seen everything. Okay, I understood.
They have watched this series. I'm not kidding you. I think like 20 times over and over. People say
Wow.
they would watch during work, during school. So they are very much in tune with all of the episodes we love. This is a fun question here. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song? Let's like shake it up a little bit.
Oh, well, now you've said shake it up. I can only think, shake it up, shake it up. That's all I can think of. But I can't think of any other ones now that you've said that.
Yes. All right. We'll keep it to that one. We like that. Super, super good. Oh my God. So many questions here, you guys. Someone wants.
I like those odd, those questions, because obviously when the show comes out, you're answering, you know, tell us what the show's about a lot. And so I like the ones that are a bit weird like that. It's good.
Yes, there are many. There was another question here. Someone was like, how do you take your toast in the morning? Was another. I love all the random.
Oh, I bet they saw recently a game we did with. I talked about how much I love toast. But I love toast every which way. But I particularly love it with peanut butter or raspberry jam and butter. But I don't love it together, which I know is very American to put them together, but I like them separate.
We do that over here a lot. There's a question here from Saint Star Code wanting to know a very important question for Ben. Is it true that you graduated literature honors?
I did a degree which was a combined degree of English literature and drama, but it was the history of drama rather than practical. It wasn't an acting course. It was theory of drama, and I did both subjects. And yes, I did graduate with honors. I've actually never said this to anyone. I think only my mum knows this, but I actually got the English prize that year. It's the only thing I've ever won ever. I've never won anything for doing what I do for the last 20 years, but when I was at college I won actually, and it was an essay prize, I think, for writing English essays about, and I was studying children's literature, so I was writing essays about Harry Potter and the Hobbit and his Dark Materials and all those younger style of literature, and about the themes in it and stuff. So talking about this stuff suits me very well, apparently.
I love this. All right, we're gonna take one more final question here, and then I have another question for you.
Okay.
The question is, when will we see in a rom-com?
Oh, do you know what? Rom-coms, probably people know, are my favorite films. One of my favorite films of all time is When Harry Met Sally. I've been looking for a film that can compete with that in terms of its kind of the ground that it covers and the comedy. I love every Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan and anything with Julia Roberts ever. And I always thought that I would be more down that path, that Hugh Grant-esque path, because I feel like that almost sort of suits actual me more than the kind of psychopaths that I have been asked to play as of late. But I promise you, it's gone. But whoever asked that, I am looking for it. I'm looking for Sleepless in Seattle. Yes, I am looking for a rom-com. I actually found one recently that I loved. I read it and said, "Yep, I want to do this one." And unfortunately, I'm not timing wise. They wouldn't. It wouldn't work out. So I'm still looking. So
You're on.
If you've written a brilliant one, send it to my manager or something, really, because I'm looking for the next Harry Met Sally always.
There you have it, you guys. Ben is open. Send it his way. All right, my question for you as we start closing this out here is, when you look back on everything that you've done throughout your career, what stands out to you as being the proudest accomplishment and moment so far?
Oh, there are so many in different ways. I will say it took me a long time to feel proud. I think like probably a lot of us, we sort of struggle a bit with, you know, how we see ourselves and our accomplishments. And I think it was probably at least 10 years of doing this before I could bear to sort of watch myself not through two fingers like that and think, that's actually all right. And I think particularly as I had more experience with life and more things happen to you and you endure more, you just endure more experience. I think it kind of frees you up a bit as an actor to say things in different ways, on some level. And I think I was obviously very proud when I got the Narnia films. I was very proud when I first got a job at the National Theatre in London, because when I was a kid, that was all I ever wanted to, that was the only place I ever wanted to work.
Yeah.
And then when Narnia came and I got that job, that felt like an extraordinary step for me. But I would say probably all the way through to, I did a small film called Jackie and Ryan, with Katherine Heigl, where I play a street musician, which I'm very proud of. It was the first film I watched all the way through and thought, oh, this is a good film. And I don't really see much of myself in there, but I do see little moments. So I'm very proud of that little film. So if you haven't seen that, go and watch that one. And then I was very proud to be a part of the Westworld cast. That was amazing. And then I was very proud to be cast as a sort of powerful, tough villain opposite John Bernthal in The Punisher. You know, I just thought, you know, that sort of whole Marvel thing was a really cool thing to be tangentially involved with. And then I'm really proud of how this show is done. And I was so passionate about this show doing well for all the young cast in it. I just really wanted it to be a hit for them. So I'm thrilled that it is, basically.
And look, you can't just pick one moment. So many exciting ones. And
I didn't pick one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
no, you don't have to. I love that you picked all of them. It goes to show how important all of these different roles mean to you. And it's awesome to see. And like you said, the fans here are so excited about the show. And I know everyone just wants more. And to have you today and for the fans to get some of their questions answered has meant so much. So we so appreciate the time.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much, all of you, for being interested and curious, and for all your brilliant questions and all your lovely heart emojis and all that.
So many heart emojis. That is cool. Thank you, Ben, so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.
We gotta kiss you guys. We love that. Thank you guys so much for watching us over on Tomorrow by Today with Ben Barnes. This conversation will be saved on our feeds in case you missed some of it. So you guys can go back and watch it over and over again, just like you guys do with Shadow and Bone. We'll be back here next week with a whole new guest over here on Tomorrow.